Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome back. Today we are doing our analysis video on former captain of Squad 3 of the Gotei 13, Gin Ichimaru. Now, before we get into who he was and what his role in the Soul Society was, for all of you who are new to my channel, thank you guys for coming out and spending a little bit of time with me. If you guys have not subscribed, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, as well as give this video a thumbs up, because that will help the channel out a lot. And if you guys have not hit that notification bell, please make sure that you do so that when I post content exactly like this every week, you guys will be the first to know. So, who is Gin Ichimaru? Well, he is the former captain of Squad 3 of the Gotei 13, but he's one of those people that you really don't know exactly who he is. Now, I say that because when we first meet him in the manga and the anime, he, of course, is one of the captains that was sent to stop Ichigo as well as everybody else from, invading the Soul Society. But when we first meet him, he is basically, standing at the gate waiting for it to be open, kind of as if he knew exactly where Ichigo was going to show up at. But instead of him killing the Ryoka, he basically just kind of toyed with them a little bit, and then just had like the cynical smile on his face, like, okay, yeah, I'll see you guys later. But he's actually one of my favorite captains. Let me just put it out there like that. He's not my all-time favorite captain. You guys when I do the character analysis, you're gonna know who my favorite captain is, but Gin is one of my favorite captains. And so we find out that later within the Soul Society arc, that Gin this entire time was exactly not who he said that he was, and how he had everybody believe him, because Aizen was murdered, right? And the way everything was set up, the way that everything was basically planned out, we all, was under the influence that it was Gin that murdered Aizen. Well, come to find out that the whole thing was a setup by Aizen himself. And Gin was basically just, following orders, following suit and stuff. And so we begin to learn and understand more about who Gin actually is, because in several flashbacks, as well as the Turn Back the Pendulum arc, we find out that Gin had actually been knowing Rangiku Matsumoto ever since they were younger. Now, how they came to meet was that Gin and Rangiku were basically born and raised in Rukongai district. And so, excuse me. And so Rangiku was basically on her deathbed. She was laying out in the middle of the woods, had her spiritual pressure pretty much just drained. And that's when Gin had found her. And so he offered her food to, help replenish her strength and her energy. And so they wind up actually living together. Now, of course, we don't really know who Rangiku's or Gin's parents were, or even if they had family to begin with, just because of where they were, how they met, and the fact that they just started living together. And if I recall, I believe that they were, I would say maybe like 9-10 years old, something like that. So they were relatively young. Now, there was one night where Gin was in the woods, gathering woods and stuff, just so that I guess, create a fire, whatever he, like any other reason, why somebody will be collecting woods or firewood, but he happened to see three Shinigami. Well, actually, yeah, three Shinigami that was actually knelt and bent over to another Shinigami who was Aizen. So Gin had wound up putting two and two together and realized that the three Shinigami that were knelt in front of Aizen that was handing him a like an orb type object were the same Shinigami that basically almost killed Rangiku. So it was right then and there that Gin made the vow of killing Aizen, because Aizen basically, almost killed his best friend. Let's just put it like that. Well, best friend at the time. But at the same time, we do look at Gin like a snake, because he's very deceitful. And so now, appearance-wise, Gin has short silver hair. He stands at about 6'1", but he always keeps his eyes squinted. Now, when he does open his eyes, now in the anime, when Gin first opened his eyes with his battle or his little minor fight against Toshiro Hitsugaya, his eyes were like a crimson blood red. But several times after that Gin has basically opened his eyes, they were kind of like a skyish blue. So I guess that Kubo just decided that the red for his eyes wasn't, all that great. So let's go with a different color. And so we then, after the Turn Back the Pendulum arc, we then begin to realize, as well as fully understand, Gin's character, Gin's motive, why he defected from the Gotei 13 to begin with, and why he's following Aizen of all people. It was basically to kill Aizen, for that matter. And so we see that after he defected from the Soul Society, that Rangiku wind up, kind of, I guess you could say capturing him and stuff, held him by his wrist with her sword, to his neck. And before Gin left for Wako Mundo, he basically said, I'm sorry, Rangiku. I wish that we could have had more time together. I would have loved to stay your captive. And so, of course, he left and gone to Wako Mundo, that whole little spill. And so he doesn't necessarily play a very big role in the Wako Mundo arc. But, of course, he's, there in the background, just doing what it is that, Gin does. But when it came to the Fate Karakura Town arc, this is where things begin to really unfold. Because when Aizen wind up getting the Hogyoku and fusing it within himself, after pretty much all the captains were defeated, after all their spotter were killed and stuff like that, it basically was just Gin as well as Aizen left after that. But Gin did have his second fight with Ichigo, and so that's when we begin to see his actual true power, so we think. Now, when it comes to Gin's Zanpakuto, his Zanpakuto's Shikai name is Shinzo, which basically means God Spear. But when he goes Bankai for the first time against Ichigo, his Bankai Zanpakuto's name is Kamishini no Yari, which basically means God-killing spear. And so now, God-killing spear, that is a badass name. I'm not going to front with that. Kamishini no Yari already sounds badass in Japanese, but God-killing spear, yeah, sounds even better in English. And so now, Gin did let Ichigo know that. Okay, so before I get into that, a little description on his Zanpakuto Shinzo. It's a relatively short spear type sword, to where when he calls its release state, the blade extends, so it's pretty much an extendable yet retractable blade. But with Kamishini no Yari, Gin did inform Ichigo that his Zanpakuto can extend up to 13 kilometers. Now, we don't know if that's the truth or not. We just kind of got to just go with it from there. But where Gin's story finally comes to an end, which is very, very sad and stuff. Like, even talking about it, I'm getting a little heartfelt and stuff, because his motives were pure, but he had to deceive everybody in order to make what it is that he was trying to do a reality. So let me dive on more into that. So what happened was that Gin wound up finding Rangiku, and Aizen, had started questioning him about Rangiku. And so, long story short, just to paraphrase, Gin was like, okay, don't worry about her. I'm going to kill her. I'm just going to take care of her and stuff. So you ain't gotta watch this. I'm just gonna grab her. We gonna go. So he winds up bringing Rangiku, to a rooftop. They, had a minor chat, but he winds up walking up closer to Rangiku, pointing Shinzo to her, and wind up doing a keto spell, which basically knocked her out. And so when Gin found Aizen again, Aizen, asked, what did you do with the woman? He was like, oh, I killed her. Like, you ain't gotta worry about that no more. And so of course, with the keto spell that Gin did, it basically suppressed her spiritual pressure, so not even Aizen was able to feel it. So he did, even though Aizen did have his suspicions, that was all basically debunked and whatnot, sinisterly, with the keto spell. So when it came to Ichigo's friends that were, still alive within Karakura Town, what Gin did was that he winds up walking, in front of Aizen, and this is when we begin to actually learn and understand about Aizen's Zanpakuto weakness. Now, not going to get into a long story with that, but Aizen Zanpakuto Kyoka Suigetsu is a Zanpakuto that basically means complete hypnosis, or its ability is complete hypnosis. So no matter what, if he releases his Shikai in front of you, you're under his spell no matter what. Unless he decides he wants to pull you out of it, you're stuck. Now, the loophole with that is that the only way you can break out of Kyoka Suigetsu's ability is if you actually touch the blade of the sword. And so that's exactly what Gin did. And we also learn another ability that his Zanpakuto has, that when Gin finally let it be revealed that his ultimate end game was to kill Aizen, take the whole Gyoku and stuff, so that he can basically protect Rangiku's smile, he released Kamishini no Yari that stabbed Aizen in his chest. But there's also a reason as to why Gin always calls himself a snake, and it's reflected within Kamishini no Yari, because a section of the blade broke off into Aizen's chest. But what it does is that section that's broken off will actually disintegrate into a poison that will break down the body to a pretty much a cellular and molecular level. So that was Gin's hope of killing Aizen. But of course he, stole the whole Gyoku and then bounced. But because the whole Gyoku had already implanted itself within Aizen basically, he almost died. I guess you could say that he did die, but then wound up coming back. And what's real sad about this is that it wasn't even a fight between Gin and Aizen. Aizen literally snatched the Hogyoku back from Gin, and as Gin was trying to get it back from Aizen wound up just completely ripping off his left arm. And basically just, slashing him, doing him in. And so once Aizen left, Rangiku wound up waking up. And then, because she felt that something was going on with Gin. And so she, of course, found where Gin was and basically holding him in her arms while she's crying. And, basically was trying to understand why. Like, why did you put yourself through all of this? Why go so far from me? But then Ichigo comes back. And so right before the final fight between Ichigo and Aizen, Gin looks at Ichigo and was like, I can tell you've gotten stronger. Now I can actually die in peace, knowing that you're going to save this world, save everybody, including Rangiku. Now, mind you, I'm paraphrasing with that. But Gin winds up dying, right? Like right after that, right? And so we fully do understand everything about Gin, and come to find out that Gin was actually a child prodigy within the story, as well as a complete fan favorite. And I think that Kubo didn't have big plans for Gin Ichimaru, but because he was a fan favorite, and I believe that he ranked 12 or 11 in a poll that was done back in 2012. And so of course his story got expanded a little bit, and so we can now fully understand everything about Gin Ichimaru, because at first we thought that he was the villain of the story, but then come to find out Aizen was the main antagonist. So we thought that Gin was one of his I guess you could say one of, not a henchman, but one of his subordinates. But then we also later find out and fully understand that Gin's motive behind all of this was basically to exact revenge for killing, or, well, I'm sorry, I take that back, for almost killing the woman that he loves. And so even though everything was in vain when it comes to Gin's plan, we still do get that understanding of who and how he was as a character. And Gin wind up basically relinquishing everything about himself, his humanity, his moral code, his standards, all because his goal was to kill Aizen, because he knew what Aizen was after, what Aizen was going for. And so Gin actually is he's actually a very, very well-written character, even though his story is kind of told sporadically. But one theory that I've personally had was that during the Hueco Mundo arc, when Ichigo, Chad, and Uryu go to Hueco Mundo to rescue Orihime, when it came to the fights that was in Hueco Mundo, you had several captains that that did appear. Like, for example, you had Mayuri Kurosuchi against Zaraparo Grants. Then you had Yami against Byakuya Kushiki, as well as Kenpachi Zaraki. But then you also had Unohana, Captain Retsu Unohana, with her lieutenant showing up to basically do what needs healing and stuff like that. But how is it that these captains were able to go to Hueco Mundo and they were the exact fit and stuff to basically, fight said enemy. What I personally believe is that Gin kept in contact with the Soul Society, and from day one wound up telling Yamamoto, hey, this is what's going on. This is, I basically defected to follow Aizen so that I can basically put a stop to what it is that he's trying to do. And so I do believe that Gin, after he did defect, the Soul Society did let old man Yama know this is the reason why I did what it is that I did. I'm sorry that I lied to everybody, but Aizen is up to no good. And so he kept in contact with everybody so that they can better prepare. And so, that's his story was a very, very sad one. It really was. Somebody who had a very positive motive to protect the smile of the woman that he loves. But yet, the entire time, he had to basically, be a snake, had to lie, manipulate, deceive everybody. And yet, in the end, his plan didn't even come into fruition, at least by his own hands. Now, I'm going to end the video here. That was just my character analysis on former captain of Squad 3, Gin Ichimaru. Now, if there's anything that I missed when it came to talking about Gin, please feel free to let me know in the comments. As well as anything that I might have missed with my soy phone video, as well as my Yamamoto analysis video. I would love for you guys to come talk to me in the comments, and we can hold a conversation about Gin, about soy phone, even about Yamamoto. So this has been your boy Scriv. I thank you guys for coming out on today, and so make sure that you guys hit that subscribe button, give a thumbs up to the video because it does help the channel out a lot, as well as hit that notification bell so that you guys can be aware of all the content that I post just like this every week. And so I will see you guys next week.